Yep. Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Madison. My name is Erin Hawes, and my pronouns are she, her. I am a member of this congregation and a volunteer worship associate. Today I'm joined by our guest worship leader, FUS member and affiliated community minister, the Rev Andy Karlson, and by the worship team of Linda Warren, Drew Collins, and Daniel Carnes. A thank you to all of those volunteering this morning. Our greeters are Ann Smiley and Elizabeth Barrett. Ushers are Sue Hogg and Dick Goldberg, and coffee is being made by Sue and Jim Wilson and Jeanne Hills and Isa Garossi. Our lay ministers are Lois Evanson and Karen Rose Gedler. Thank you all. At First Unitarian Society, we question boldly, listen humbly, grow spiritually, act courageously, and love unapologetically. If you're visiting us today, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us. If you'd like more information about First Unitarian Society, please stop by the welcome table located in the Commons. We hope you're able to stay and join us for coffee hour immediately after service, also in the Commons. For those connecting with us virtually today, we're so very glad you're with us as well. And we hope you are able to take a moment and watch the announcement slides after today's service to learn more about upcoming programs and activities. And now, I invite you to join me in a moment of silence to center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time as we join together once again in community.
It is not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring.
Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to us, all of us, when we share.
And so you began seeking a beloved community.
A people that does not put fences around love. A community that holds its arms open to possibilities of love. A heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts.
Welcome home. Welcome to worship. And now please rise in all the ways we do for the lighting of our chalice. We kindle this flame as a reminder of the covenant between our congregation and all other Unitarian Universalist communities to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. Let us work to build and be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. And I now invite you to turn to those around you and greet each other with signs of love and peace.
Good morning. Let's continue our worship with our opening hymn, number 8. If you're using a gray hymnal, they're also on the screen. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, where are you? In the sky song, in the forest sounds your cry. What to give you, what to
Now it's our time for all ages, and we invite anyone of any age who wants to come up and join us on the carpet for our story. Let's see. Anyone else? Our story today is called Love by Matt De La Peña and Lauren Long. In the beginning there is light and two wide-eyed figures standing near the foot of your bed, and the sound of their voices is love. The cab driver plays love softly on his radio while you bounce in back with the bumps of the city, and everything smells new and it smells like life. Love, too, is the smell of crashing waves and a train whistling blindly in the distance, and each night of the sky above your trailer turns the color of love. In a crowded concrete park, you toddle toward summer sprinklers while older kids skip rope and run up the slide, and soon you are running among them, and the echo of your laughter is love. On the night the fire alarm blares, you're pulled from sleep and whisked into the street where a quiet old lady is pointing to the sky. Stars shine long after they've flamed out, she tells you, and the shine they shine with is love. But it's not only stars that flame out, you discover. It's summers, too, and friendships, and people. One day you find your family nervously huddled around the TV, but when you ask what happened, they answer with silence and shift between you and the screen. In your dreams that night, you are searching for a love that seems lost. You open and close drawers, lift cushions, empty old toy bins, but there's nothing. You wake with a start in the arms of a loved one who bends to your ear and whispers, "It's okay, it's okay, it's love." And in time, you learn to recognize a love overlooked, a love that wakes at dawn and rides to work on the bus, a slice of burned toast that tastes like love. And it's love in each deep crease of your grandfather's face as he lowers himself onto an overturned bucket of fish. And it's love in the rustling leaves of gnarled trees lined beneath the flower fields. And it's love in the made-up stories your uncles tell in the backyard between wild horseshoe throws. And the man in rags outside the subway station plays love notes that lift into the sky like tiny beacons of light. And the face staring back in the bathroom mirror. This, too, is love. So, when the time comes for you to set off on your own, heavy winds will sweep past your building and great gray clouds will congregate above. Your loved ones will stand there like puddles beneath their umbrellas, holding you tight and kissing you and wishing you luck. But it won't be luck you'll leave with, because you'll have love. You'll have love, love, love. And that's the end of our story time for today. So any kids who want to return to their families or go for summer fun activities down the hall, have a good rest of the service.
We're going to sing our next hymn. Let's go ahead and stand and rise in body and/or in spirit. Number 1053 in the teal hymnal, How Could Anyone? We'll sing it 3 times. blessed and beautiful. How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Today's inspiration is by Benjamin Cutler. Dressing my father-in-law for burial. I would have tied the tie differently, full Windsor, centered and snug against the white press collar. But his oldest son wanted the job, and who could deny him this right? So I watched, half Windsor, not too tight, loop overly loose around the unbuttoned neck, as though the man were ready for his after-work commute. See him now, this grieving son, hands a-tremble and earnest, tying Dad's final tie, inexpertly, imperfectly. But isn't this how any of us love? The only way we know how.
I've been working as a chaplain for nearly 2 decades at 4 different hospitals and systems, supporting patients and families at every phase of life and at every level of health. Of the thousands of patient encounters and hundreds of deaths I've been present for, I'm thinking this morning, the week before Father's Day, of someone I met only once, just before he died. This was very early into my first professional chaplain position in Walnut Creek, California. I'd graduated seminary the summer previous, I'd become a father a few months after that, and passed my ministerial fellowship committee appearance just the previous month. So there I was, brand new grad school grad, a brand new father, a brand new UU minister, and a brand new chaplain, answering an end-of-life support page for the mother of a patient in the ICU and feeling totally lost for words. The page I'd received had no specifics about the patient, other than he was transitioning to comfort care and his mother had requested a prayer before that was done. I think in my mind, I was anticipating someone my own age at the time or younger, someone maybe in his 20s or 30s. However, this patient was in his mid-60s, and he was dying of early onset dementia that had run an extremely swift and terrible course. His brain had deteriorated to the point that his doctors didn't think he would be able to breathe on his own, and that he would be able to breathe on his own after the ventilator tube had been withdrawn, and his mother had just arrived at his bedside. There were 3 reasons I felt lost for words. First, the patient being in his 60s, his mother was in her mid-90s and seemed quite frail. Second, she had brought along for emotional support her identical twin sister. Third, they were wearing matching leopard skin print pantsuits, one in orange and one in hot pink. It's not exactly a relevant detail, but there was something poignant and meaningful to me about how distinctive their presentation was. And at the very least, it certainly helped me to hang on to the memory of the visit. Once I had recovered my powers of speech, I introduced myself and made some small talk to ascertain what their religious needs were and if there were any emotional needs or considerations beyond the obvious. They were not actively religious, but wanted words said, and I could tell that the grief was strong enough that further conversation would be burdensome. Sometimes you just show up and do the job. So I said a brief prayer, a prayer of gratitude for the life this man had lived and the legacy that he was leaving, of sorrow for the broken hearts left behind and the years unlived, and a prayer of hope for release from suffering and for spiritual reunion in days to come. The doctor nodded to the respiratory therapist who adjusted the settings on the respirator and, momentarily obscuring his work from view, removed the tube from the patient's throat. The rise and fall of his chest ceased almost immediately, and shortly after, the doctor stepped forward and placed a stethoscope over the man's heart. He listened for a full minute, then stood and turned to the mother and said, "I'm so sorry, he's gone." She took a breath and then burst into tears as she leaned over her son's body. I watched her holding him for a moment, and these words came into my head: "They're never not your baby." Her son died in his 60s, but he could have been 6 years old or 6 months. The heartbreak was the same. I gently touched the sister on the shoulder to let her know I was available and at their service if there was anything else I could do to be of support. And then I left to give them space with their grief. That moment crystallized something in my understanding of love and parenthood and has persisted in my heart over the last 15 years. They are never not your baby, even as you do your best to nurture and support them and guide them in preparation for them to go out into the world on their own terms with their own triumphs and mistakes and joys and tragedies. They are never not your baby. There is an incredibly powerful connection that permeates the rest of your life. It's a statement of faith in a way, the recognition that there is an indelible and enduring connection that will always exist beyond worldly circumstances. Holding on to that insight has helped me to seek balance as a dad and hopefully navigate a productive space between clingy hovering and dispassionate neglect. It is not easy to hold things loosely, especially in this moment when so many are eager to undo and destroy important progressive changes of the last 70 years. The civil rights movement and the fight against Jim Crow, the struggle for LGBTQIA+ equality, the waves of feminism that have demanded full citizenship for women, the anti-bullying work that has transformed public education, the American Indian movement and other indigenous peoples' struggles for justice, and many more collective efforts to expand the promises of this country's founding documents to all who live here. The tenuous gains from these endeavors are under attack, and while these attacks seem to come from many different sources, I think that Hydra-like they are just different heads that spring from one domination-hungry body. Toxic masculinity, the great sword of fascism, originated as a descriptor of the woundedness that traditional white American constructions of maleness damaged to those who subscribe to them. But I think that the pernicious evil implied by the term goes much deeper, a twisted morality of domination, informing all the structures of injustice by which we are presently beset. After all, its defining motivation is seeking dominance in various levels of relationship, from the internal relationship with the self, to interpersonal one-on-one relationships, to the layers of family relationships, and then on to community, municipality, state, national, and cultural levels. Really, to me, it's only about gender to the extent that gender is a proxy for power. The insecurity in which this drive for exercising power over is rooted in is a sense of loss, even of grief, the experience of losing a sense of self and place because of the upending of the unjust structures of power that had previously organized our moral universe to the benefit of a privileged few. And because it is not recognized and appropriately processed as grief, reactions of that privileged few and those that were oppressed by its structures but still found a sense of security in knowing their location in the hierarchy. The reactions to that loss slide easily into anger and a violent lashing out in an effort to restore it, or failing that, into vengeful violence. Through this lens of understanding toxic masculinity as malformed grief and a desire to restore order, much that is overwhelming in the present moment snaps into focus. And just to be clear, understanding is not excusing. That these are the death throes of a defunct worldview does not make them any less dangerous, and having a clear understanding of what we face is critical to opposing and overcoming it. This won't come as a surprise, but this was not the emotional, political landscape I had hoped to be raising my kids in. All three of them were born during Obama's presidency, and I confess I did not anticipate how deeply having a black president and anticipating following that up with a woman president would psychically wound so many other Americans. Nor did I realize how effectively those resentments could be harnessed and inflamed by social media. And I was initially baffled to realize how many people would take a lose-lose outcome over a win-win as long as it preserved their sense of social location. Too many people are satisfied to have a boot on their necks as long as it means that they get to put a boot on the neck of the person below them. The Black Lives Matter movement was another series of shocks to the systems of the status quo. And finally, the experience of being asked to make sacrifices for the common good during the pandemic, combined with the subsumed fear and grief of enduring the threat of disease and death, seems to have induced a kind of situational, oppositional, defiant disorder in many folks, which gives a real case of emotional whiplash to those of us in healthcare, those of us healthcare workers who still remember being cheered as heroes. Reading each day about the mounting absurdities, insults, and injuries can tempt one towards despair. And at the same time, despite the flailing fierceness of toxic masculinity driving all manner of vileness from the absurd to the globally ruinous, when I think of the world my kids are inheriting, I am not without hope. They have landmarks and role models to guide them, and opportunities for self-expression and a freedom from bullying and casual sexism and ableism that I wouldn't have imagined possible 30 years ago. This is not to say their lives aren't touched by these oppressive elements, but it's drastically better than what I experienced in middle school myself. It would be all too easy as a parent of tweens and teens in 2026 to succumb to the anxiety and stress of the moment by clamping down and retreating into a defensive crouch. Don't let them access YouTube because the algorithm rewards eyeball-pulling vileness from creepy incels and sex pests like the Tate brothers. Don't let them use Facebook or Instagram for the same reason. Don't let them drive because everybody seems to have forgotten the rules of the road since the pandemic. But at the same time, pretending that the world is other than it is will not create healthy change, nor will it help kids grow to be able to meet these challenges. Rather, paying attention to the healthy exercise of power as a parent will not only create guardrails for safe growth in the moment, it will give our kids a mental model that will hopefully serve as a balance for the unhealthy exercises of power they have too many opportunities to encounter. A few examples from my own parenting. My wife Sarah and I work to be transparent in our decision making and to get as much input as we can from our kids when there is a decision to be made. We are present to our kids' emotions, and we show and unpack our own as often as possible without making our kids into our emotional caretakers, of course. We try to model healthy boundaries. We try to show through word and action that there's a place where each of us ends and where the other begins. And this, as a father especially, this may be especially important, I strive to be upfront and to apologize when I've made a mistake, to demonstrate that it's not weakness to be able to acknowledge one's humanity and one's ability to screw up. The ultimate goal of toxic masculinity, as I see it, is the destruction of authentic relationship, the bleaching out of individuality and self-expression, the establishment of a complete and concretizing structure so that no one can be outside of their assigned place. The fact that this goal is an impossibility doesn't lessen the zeal of those who would establish it. Therefore, the path through is in relationship. The core work of this moment is to cultivate and strengthen our relationships at every level: self, family, congregation, neighborhood, community, state, and nation. The community work in the Twin Cities is a great example of the power of relationship to resist the oppressions and depredations of fascism. Neighbors drawing on the organizing work done during the Black Lives Matter movement to protect one another from literal jackbooted thugs. The work of relationship is just as important when it is less dramatic. For instance, Unitarian theologian James Luther Adams reminds us that congregations such as this one, groups that he termed voluntary associations, are a core pillar of the strength of a society, and I know personally that I have drawn tremendous strength over the course of my life from the relationships that this congregation has fostered. We are also called to stay connected to relationship within ourselves, listening to that small, still voice, maintaining our spiritual practices, cultivating hobbies, and tending the spark within that is a piece of life's eternal flame. Parenting our kids, after all, involves parenting ourselves, and tending to the needs and life of our souls keeps that inexhaustible channel open despite the forces that would choke it and trample it into the dust. The anxiety inherent in this moment creates temptation for us as parents to tightly stage manage our kids through life's pitfalls and perils. But by the same token, the path is fraught enough that it would be negligent to turn them loose to navigate all on their own. We cannot protect our children from everything, nor can we prepare them for every circumstance that they will face. And there are no guarantees in life against tragedy and heartbreak, in spite of our hardest work and best intentions. But by doing the work of authentic relationship, we give them and ourselves not only the best tools to survive this perilous moment, we create the conditions to triumph over and transcend toxic masculinity and to build something new from the ashes.
I invite you into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering, which supports the ongoing work of this community. There are multiple ways to share your gifts. You can donate directly from our website, fusmadison.org, or you'll see on our screen our text to give information. And now, baskets will be passed here in the auditorium for gifts of cash or checks. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life that we create together.
Each week we gather together, bringing with us the joys and losses of our days. We share these here knowing they are held in love, care, and support. We light a candle in anticipation of Juneteenth this coming Friday. May the commemoration of the ending of slavery in this country remind us of the work still to be done to dismantle racial inequity and to build a just and truly free society. We light a candle for the loss of community leader Michael Johnson, president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County, whose life and work touched the lives of so many. And we light a candle in celebration of the 56th wedding anniversary of Trudy Carlson and Dave Weber. Today, June 14th, 56 years ago, great events were set in motion. Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. And we light one final candle for all that lives in our hearts, the joy and the celebrations and the sorrows and the loss. May we know that we are held in love. And if you will join me now in a moment of meditation and contemplation with these words from the Reverend Tess Baumberger. What will they say of us? That we lived upon this earth or that we lived with this earth? That we earned solely for ourselves or that we worked for the well-being of all? That we wasted precious life on vanities and empty diversions, or that each day we claimed a meaningful existence? That we shut ourselves into rigid individualism, or that we nested in the loves of our friends, families, and the whole interweave of humanity? What will they say of us? What would you have them say? Let us make each day not a beginning, not an exorcism from the past, cutting off the threads, but rather let us take any frayed edges and weave in new strands, continuous but discernible, mending the harmed fabric, making it whole once more, creating the integral tapestry of life. I invite you to rest with me in this silence for a moment together. Amen.
We continue our exploration of our new hymnal, Sing Out Love, with the song, The Tide is Rising. I'm going to invite you in a moment to rise because it's not a song that's easily sung seated. It's a lot of fun, but I'm going to ask Linda to play it through once. I'll sing through the first verse and then ask you to join me on all subsequent verses. Please rise in body and/or in spirit. I'll sing this verse. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The sun is rising, and so are we. The sun is rising, and so are we. The sun is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be.
Our closing words come from the Reverend Michelle Collins. The flame goes out. What stays is what we've found here. The recognition, the remembering, the knowing that we are here for each other. From this, we flourish and light up the world. Blessed be. Go in peace, and please be seated for the postlude.